Scottie Pippen has been tripping. We're going to talk about Scottie's interview on Give Me the Hot Sauce podcast with Stacey King and dive into the mailbag on a simple Saturday mailbag. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Hayes. You can follow me right off the top at CEO Hayes if you choose to do so. You can also follow the pod at Bull Central Pod if you want to follow us there as well on every social media platform. But let's go ahead and get into the shits today. Scottie Pippen, man. I have never seen somebody who I completely idolized growing up trip as much as they have. And let me be clear, right? Not everything that Scottie Pippen said in the interview was wrong. I think when you look at him saying how people viewed Jordan, especially like some of his, teammates over the course of the years have come out and, said that Jordan wasn't the best teammate. Now, I guarantee you they're all happy that they're wearing rings and they got some endorsement deals and things like that being champions. But at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, I look at it like this when it comes to Pip, is that I think Pippen, the last dance was the final straw and just a series of things that Pip looks back on his career and just feels disrespected by. I really think that's what it was. The last dance was that last thing. It was just like, come on, bro. And I can understand it. Like, Pip has been made the scapegoat for some things, right? When you look at people like criticizing Pip for the headache game and things like that and stuff, like, Pip has been very much criticized. But at the end of the day, it's all about what you guys did together. And while I think that some of that vitriol has been focused towards MJ, where really it should be more focused towards some of your contemporaries and some of, the pundits and analysts and things like that. But, I can't say that. That man went through what he went through. He's going to have his feelings on when he's going to have his feelings on. I do think, it gets a little bit much into being hyperbolic when you say things like Jordan was a horrible player before he got there. And it only took me 5 years to win it. Like, that type of thing. But again, I feel like Pip is really somebody who, in many ways, feels like he's fighting for his legacy, fighting to be remembered to the fact of, hey, I wasn't just a Robin in this case, right? And while some people do say and label Pip as the greatest number two ever, and that's realistic, right? I can't fight against that or say anything negative against people viewing him. Pip is just the greatest number two ever. But to me, Pip was so much more than that, right? And as somebody who watched Pip play, Pip was a dog. And what he did defensively, what he did offensively, those Bulls teams don't win without Pip and Jordan. It goes hand in hand. And really, as a team, to win a title, it takes a full team. And if that's something that we see every day that's proven, right? And even when people nowadays act like when it comes to players well, he doesn't go out, he didn't win you in the playoffs. It's very there are only a handful of players in the NBA, real talk, that can just, by the nature of them being on your team alone, make you a championship contender. But that's a story for another day. But seeing, the one thing that I always enjoy with any type of interview or anything is the access that we have to players nowadays. When I was growing up, the previous generation, they retired and went away. You would be lucky to see them pop up every once in a couple of years on being interviewed somewhere. We have such unfiltered access to anybody who wants to be in front of a camera, anybody who wants to be in front of a mic. It just sucks that Pip uses that time to really, it seems like, primarily to throw shade. And more so, I would love Pip to just talk about his accomplishments, right? If I ever got the chance to interview Scottie Pippen, I just want to hear about what you did. I want to hear about what you accomplished. I want to hear about what went through your mindset of going through winning 6 titles. What was the way that you prepared for it, right? That's the stuff that I would want to hear. And I know the thing with him versus Jordan and Phil Jackson is always going to be the things that get headlines. I just wish that it was more focused on, because Pip had an amazing career. When you look at just the story of Scottie Pippen, it's a story there. Is it gonna, if people try to compare it to MJ, is it gonna be held up to there? No. But Pip had a great career, and when you look at what he did internationally, right, with Team USA, what he was able to do with the Bulls, and even leaving and coming back to the Bulls, and just what that story went through your mind there, going through being on a franchise that won 6 titles, right? And I loved in the interview with him and Stacey King, even him talking about the Houston Rockets, right, and saying, hey, they weren't talking about you 2 years before. They didn't talk about you 2 years after you won the title, right? That's the kind of thing. And I feel like Pips now, every time he gets in front of an interview, it's always going to be looked at as, all right, what you about to spill about Jordan in that era of the Bulls? And it's like I mean, and again, it's not on the interview. I'm not putting it on Stacey King. It is on Pip, because that is the way that Pip he goes about it. And you could tell that he's just somebody who is sour about the way that some things went, right or wrong, no matter how you view that. That's just where he is, and he feels slighted. And when you do look at The Last Dance was always painted in a way that it was kind of from Jordan's perspective. They even showed, I was surprised at how much they did show Jordan being an asshole, right? Because I thought that they were completely just trying to paint him as this angelic figure. But at the end of the day, like what that Bulls team, what Mike and Pip went through with 2 different iterations of that Bulls team, going on 2 different three-peats, we'll never see done again. Never see done again. And so, it's amazing, and I don't want even what Pip has done to kind of like make people forget that Pip was a great player, man. But yeah, it's just it just sucks that every time he gets in front of a mic nowadays, man, it's just to throw shade, and it's just made to be something of like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm kind of two minds about it. I go back and forth. Like Pip was tripping on some things, man, and but he also dropped a lot of facts, and I know over on Locked on Bulls, I made the joke that I really do think that this Pippen is from the multiverse, because when you just look at sometimes his recollection of events aren't exactly how like the people like they were kind of painted back then, and it's just slightly off. And I made the joke that like, yeah, that's because he's from a different multiverse where things were very similar, but there are some key things that were a little bit different. But overall, man, it kind of is what it is when it comes to Pip in the interview. That's all I can say. Like Pip is just, hey, he's gonna Pip, and that's what it is. That's what it's gonna be. And you can expect it. And at some point, I hope there is a reconciling between him and Jordan, because like I hope, and I know that may be me being hopeful. And it probably will never happen. Just with you look at the things that were said, but I do think that what the things that Pip has gone through in his back end of his life, right? Not even career, his life, like his wife leaving him. Now with I think she's still with Jordan's son, like all that leaving him for future. Like it's just, I'm sure that's a lot to send any man. And when you also look at the fact of how much money Pip missed out on with that contract, and I do think that's where he carries a lot of his upsetness, right? Is with that contract, just looking back and looking at that deal that he signed, that, hey, Jerry Reinsdorf said, I would not take this deal if I were you. And so, man, it just is what it is when it comes to Pitt, man. That's all I can say. But all right, enough of me rambling. Let's go ahead and get into the mailbag today, man. The first voicemail that we got, this one's from Ant the Big Homie.
What up, Hayes? It's your boy Ant the Big Homie. Man, I'm calling in because I've been watching these games in the playoffs, and Miami is on a mission. I never seen a 8 seed this dangerous. And I know they was injured most of the season, and they had their issues, and Spo and Jimmy had they little run in and on the bench or whatever, but bro, that organization is so impressive. And I think that's what we're missing. Back in the day, during Jimmy Cross era, he said organization wins championships. Everybody got pissed off, but now we see what he meant when he said organization wins championships. Bro, Miami has the identity of Pat Riley. Uncle Pat is on the sideline still looking like he can play, bro. He's that motivated and that big of a winner, and that's what we're missing for the Bulls. We don't have an identity. Our organization don't care about winning. They care about the bottom line. It's a business to them. So they don't care about hiring the best productive coach or the best productive general manager or the best productive president of personnel. They don't care about that, bro. Their bottom line is winning. And us fans, I'm sorry, their bottom line is their bottom line, dollars. Us fans is the only thing that in this organization, as far as, the Bulls concerned, care about winning. And we're getting stuck. We're in a shitty situation because the higher-ups really don't care about winning. And I know us fans, we say we should make this move, we should make that move. But at the end of the day, bro, until the organization has a structural change, you're going to be forever chasing our tail. Love you always. Love the show. Go Bulls, see red.
All right, bringing up Miami, and here's what I'll say. Miami is a franchise that has an identity, and that's what as a franchise. When you look at just Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley, right? That no matter what happens, that's going to be Spo's locker room and it's Pat's organization. No matter what happens, it's Riley's organization, it's Spo's locker room. Yeah, he's going to bump heads with Jimmy Butler and things like that, but then Jimmy is also the leader on the court. He brings that identity for the actual team. The organization has their own identity. The organization has a level that they're always going to be at, and then Jimmy brings that on the court identity as well, which is having a lot of players also that were undrafted and have those chips on their shoulders, right? Somebody asked in the Chicago Bulls Central Discord the other day, was it a L take from, I think, was it Stacey? I think it was Stacey King who said that let's not act like Jimmy Butler didn't wear out his welcome on basically, I'm paraphrasing, 3 different franchises. And somebody, and I can't remember who it was, asked if it was an L take, and it was a valid question to ask, right? But I think that it was also a valid statement from Stacey because not every team is going to have the mental makeup to be able to deal with what Jimmy Butler brings, right? And that's not to vilify Butler, that's not to vilify the other team. Cat was not ready. That young Minnesota Timberwolves team was not ready for the intensity that Jimmy Butler brought. They just weren't. They weren't ready for it. I guarantee you that some of those guys, maybe not Cat, because I think Cat still has some of that mental weakness. I'm sorry, Cat. But I think that if you look back on it, some of those players were like, nah, like Jimmy brought some things that we needed, right? But you have to be a level of maturity. You have to have a certain amount of makeup yourself to be able to deal with what Jimmy Butler brings. And then when you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, I guarantee you Joel Embiid now wishes that he was in the mind place he is now back then to be able to be a teammate with Jimmy Butler. That Philly team was not ready for Jimmy Butler either. And then you go to the Miami Heat, a team that has already strong personalities with their general manager and with their head coach, and they're better able to buffer, right? And then you have players that also have those chips on their shoulders that need that push from Jimmy Butler. So I think when it comes down to it, when you look at an organization being like the Miami Heat, it comes from developing within, it comes from establishing your system, it comes from making smart decisions, right? And not panicking, not blowing things all up. Like they do stuff slowly over time there as well. And think, so when you look at the Miami Heat as an organization, I wish that was the Bulls' identity, right? And not saying that I wish like we had Jimmy or anything, but just, if Jimmy were to leave the Miami Heat this season, it'll only be at the most 2 seasons before the Miami Heat are back to being at least a perennial playoff team, because that's just the makeup of that roster and how smart they are with how they build that team as well. All right, let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from Steph.
Yes, this is Steph. I was just chiming in on a mailbag that you had. I forgot when it was posted. I think it was something to the effect that what could the Chicago Bulls learn from the Denver Broncos or something to that effect. Listen, this is my take. Now, the Denver Nuggets is a great team. They have been great throughout the regular season as well as into the playoffs, and their first ever conference final championship and first ever finals appearance in team history. Now, if you look at the team, you notice that they have no mega superstars. You got Jokic. Yes, he's a superstar, former MVP. Outside of that, you got your players like Murray, Gordon. I love that guy ever since he was with Orlando. And then you got your other complimentary players like Caldwell Pope, et cetera, et cetera. For some reason, the Bulls have not been able to put that type of pieces to their puzzle together to build that type of playoff team, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe we need to get some more experienced leadership to be a part of the team. Maybe we need to just get rid of the general manager that we have, because their choices in their latest whatever rebuild or whatever they're trying to do with the Bulls is not working. And if there are rumors going around that Billy Donovan is not going to be the head coach of the Bulls anymore, and I don't know if everyone agree with this, I strongly feel that the Bulls should go and get Doc Rivers as the next Bulls coach if they're leaning to get Billy Donovan out as head coach. I think Doc Rivers would definitely bring that toughness, that mental toughness, et cetera, that the team needs. But, you know, everywhere he's coached, he's had a successful, you know, tenure. So I don't know if it's that the Bulls need to finally make it over that hump, so to speak, as far as being one of those teams that they're being talked about. But, you know, something needs to be done to change the culture, the attitude and the atmosphere of the Chicago Bulls organization. So I just wanted to.
All right. Steph goes back to a conversation that we had earlier in the week on what can the Bulls learn from the Denver Nuggets. And I love what you said, and I look at it as a couple of things, right? Looking at the Denver Nuggets, you can tell it takes time. It takes time. You have to build a team up over time, right? Even when you look at like how Jamal Murray came from the Carmelo Anthony deal, but I don't think they got him until like 3 or 4 years after that deal. Like, it takes time. It takes foresight. It takes building a team with a purpose, right? Having a vision in place, right? And I think also you can take from it things on the court, their play style. When you look at how they play through Jokic, but whoever has the hot hand, they all move without the ball. They all can be a threat to shoot, especially if they start getting hot. And if you get 2 or 3 of those players on top of Jokic being what he is, that team it's such a hard team to defend. And they play hard on both sides of the ball as well, right? And they don't have the superstar pieces that are common now in the NBA. They have Jokic, who is a star, who is a 2-time MVP, but that's it, right? And then they have a bunch of players that are good to extremely good complementary pieces to what they have. They built that team down there very well. Very well, and I love the way that they did that. I love that organization, and that's why when AK came in from Denver, I thought, hey, we're going to start building, right? And then AK went a way that I didn't necessarily expect. He went the win now route and making a bunch of trades, giving up a bunch of first-round picks to bring in players to try to compete now. And at the time, I understood it, but it wasn't necessarily how I initially thought AK was going to run this team when he came into the franchise. But that's the route that he went. And now we have to pivot. And then also, when your question of Billy Donovan Billy Donovan isn't going anywhere. Billy Donovan just signed a contract extension. He's not going anywhere. And really, honestly, Doc Rivers isn't that much of an upgrade over Billy Donovan. When you look at Doc, a lot of the things that he goes left with are the same struggles that Billy Donovan has. That's why I've always said whenever we do move on from Billy Donovan, it's not about going and getting another big-name coach. Find the next great coach that can build a system and that can be your coach over a long period of time, build that system, and become the next great coach. But I think we can learn a number of things from the Denver Nuggets organization, both on and off the court. And we have their former GM as our president of basketball operations. So you'd hope that some of that eventually comes over to the Chicago Bulls, right? We haven't seen it yet, but we can hope that eventually it will come. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Michael Korn.
Hey, Hayes. Good day. Korn here. There was a good, insightful interview with Tony Gill yesterday. Thanks for that. This Bulls team, current team, who you rather have, Max Strus or Coby White? Actually, I'll leave it there. Max Strus or Coby White. I read Casey Johnson that Max Strus is a restricted free agent. So who would you like to see on the Bulls team, or who fits the Bulls better current roster construction? Hey, thanks a lot. Interested in your thoughts.
Max Strus or Coby White? Michael Korn, here's what I'll say on that one. I'm going to say Coby White only because of the growth that he has and the upside. I think Coby White has more upside as a scorer than what Max Strus does. Now, that doesn't mean that Coby White is going to hit that, but I love Coby White, and I love the attitude that he has as well, and I love that he's a player that we drafted and built in, right? So I want to see Coby develop, but again, I don't think that Max Strus, we had Max Strus here at 1.2. I don't think that he would be a bad acquisition for the Chicago Bulls, but I'm betting on Coby White. I know that may not be the thing to be, especially because we haven't really seen him have like super huge playoff games or anything because we just haven't had those runs. But I think I would pick Coby White there. Everybody who's listening, watching, let me know what you guys think on that topic as well. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one is from Butter Biscuit.
Hey, this is the main man of the hour, Butter Biscuit. You know, I'm trying to be a little more active in the community because, I mean, going based off that conversation that we had on a couple of your streams, you was like potential moderator, but that's the point. Anyway, so I got a potential trade that I think that will probably benefit both teams in the long run. This is between the Bulls and Dallas, and I was thinking what would happen if we would potentially re-sign JaVonte Green and then package him in a sign-in trade with Alex Caruso to the Dallas Mavericks for Maxi, Kleeber, they number 10 pick, and maybe, a second rounder with that. Yeah. But, I think that works out for both teams pretty well. The Dallas Mavericks get the defense that they've been looking for. Defense that they can pair alongside Luka. And the Bulls, we getting a big man that can spread the floor and Maxi Kleeber. I'm not sure if he's that good of a rebounder. I know his defense is subpar at best. But, I mean, yeah, he's a shooter, so that does add shooting for us. And we get the number 10 pick. So, yeah. And, yeah, if we do get a second rounder with that, because they did say Caruso for, 2 first-round picks. So if we get the number 10 pick in the second, I feel like that's a pretty fair trade-off. But, let me know what you think. Once again, this is Butter Biscuit.
All right, trade idea from Biscuit here. JaVonte Green, Alex Caruso for Maxi Kleeber, a number 10, and a second overall pick. Here's what I'll say. It's not a terrible deal. I don't think that this is the type of deal that the Bulls would give up Alex Caruso in. I do hear you, and I do understand you saying that, hey, the Bulls wanted 2 firsts for Alex Caruso. A number 10 pick in the second is pretty damn close to that. And I'm not saying that your thinking's completely off. I just don't think that Maxi Kleeber, who could come in and be a backup power forward / center for us that we can definitely use, the number 10 pick is a great asset. And your fact of the matter is that they may be looking for defenders to add to Kyrie and Luka down there, and JaVonte and Alex Caruso could come in at positions of need for them. I like I said, I like the framework of the deal. I just don't know if that's what the Chicago Bulls would want back in a case for Alex Caruso. And keep in mind too, you can't sign and trade a player during the draft. So if the Bulls are trying to get that pick during the draft, then that deal is not going to go down either. But I don't think you're far off on that deal. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just overvaluing what the Bulls will want back. I just think in that case, you better be damn sure that you're getting a great player at number 10 that you see turning into a perennial starter, because the Bulls giving up Alex Caruso and what he means to the identity of this team, I don't necessarily think that's what they'll do. But hey, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But that's today's episode of Chicago Bulls Central. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See Red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.